trying to like get the baby to sleep. I'm like patting his butt and I'm not making eye contact. So I'm like not trying to play with you. I'm trying to put you to sleep. Yeah,
exactly.
don't engage. Don't make eye contact. Whatever you do. How are you otherwise?
Oh, I'm great. I'm great. We're a little off because the daylight savings time really affects them, doesn't it?
He's been staying up till whatever, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I hope they actually, like, there's like a thing that they're trying to vote on to get rid of daylight savings time. That's what I heard. It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
It's so.
We need the babies to sleep. That I vote no. Yeah, girl.
No.
Well, welcome to the zone. I'm in my mother's office right now, actually, and in Virginia. We're on spring break, and boy, did I need the break. Basically, just been like sleeping and like passing him to whoever will take him. But yeah, we're having our little recharge down here down south, and so yeah, I thank you. You're my second guest.
Great.
Yeah,
great. Thanks for having me.
I said it earlier for the recording, but I'll say it for the camera now too. Ellie has just been a supporter since day one. When I found out I was pregnant, and then coming back into work after having the baby, just exchanging information, even just the hey, if you need this, I got that. Like, even just the psychic and the spiritual support is like, it was there, it was in it. So I knew I had to come to you to contribute to the community. MUVA, we're here, and MUVA, which is a project that I'm working on in support of Black performing artists that mother. And this is a space where we're talking about the intersection of artistry, personhood, motherhood. Some of our guests are Black POC, others are allies like Ellie. So let's get into it. Let's talk about Ellie. Let's talk about what Ellie does. What's your background, Ellie? And what do you do now as a performing artist?
I'm an acrobat, primarily a contortionist. My most booked act is a hula hoops act where I do 100 hula hoops at the same time. I also do a lot of back bending where I can put my butt on my head, and I'm an aerialist. So between those things, I make a living.
Being pregnant and postpartum?
Yeah, I was able to do handstands through 5 months pregnant. I did my last hula hoops performance at 7 months pregnant. There were a lot of things we could get away with because we were doing like Zoom shows and things. So I was able to like wear black and face forward and kind of get away with some things that maybe I wouldn't have been able to get away with otherwise.
The fact that you were like pregnant and showing, it was the fact that maybe like you weren't, it wasn't that you weren't able, like it was more like, does this fit in with the criterion for the actor calling you Dwayne Park? Does a pregnant person how do we do this?
They were so nice to me about everything too. You know, I can't say enough good stuff about how they treated me while I was pregnant. And then when I was coming back, they were among the first employers to welcome me back with open arms. And if I ever need anything like a little extra time getting to work, or can you put me on first or last in a set because I have to run home to breastfeed my baby. They've been really amazing. I feel so lucky to have them.
I think a big reason why I felt so compelled to maybe continue in the way that I've been continuing. Visual artists, we're not someone that's standing and like our work is outside of ourselves and physical. Like we actually have to use our body, come to the space, inhabit the space for the time of the show, and then so it's hard work. And from day one they were kind of like, we're pregnant which for me was a big deal because I'm a single mom. And so same. I can't say more. I would just echo everything that you said. So yes, creative gifts and talents, and that's how we met. That's how Ellie and I met at Duane Park. So tell me about your life as a mom and a creative. Like, I feel like it's so easy, like maybe society and culture wants to like define us as mom first, but it's like for me, I'm like person first, maybe even artist first too, because those are the things that nurture me or even enable me to show up as a mom. So I wonder for you how that shows up, how those those worlds are meeting.
Okay. It's so different. You know, I think all the time during pregnancy, and I don't want to make this sound as dark as it's going to come out. It's like you're kind of watching the old you die, and then the old you dies on the table when that baby comes out, and you are reborn into something completely new and changed and different. So the way that you behave as an artist is completely changed. So for me, I used to love creating new acts and creating new material, and that always made me feel like a risk taker, which made me feel connected to an audience. If like I were doing something that might go wrong, it's like kind of my favorite thing. Gets me all charged up. And that kind of flipped as a mom. I just felt like my creativity got pretty zapped there for a while. I felt like I needed to use my art to speak in just a different way, to just communicate with an audience. I now feel more conversational than I had prior to having a baby. I haven't come up with a ton of new material since she's been born.
Is she now?
So like it's kind of, she's 19 months. They say it goes fast. It's they're right. It really goes so fast. I can't believe it. She's running everywhere. She's like talking. It goes so fast, and it's so much all at once.
Even just like us crossing each other's paths. I remember like the week I think you had come back postpartum was the week I was finding out I was pregnant. And the week that it was like I had only been working at Duane for like a month or two maybe. And so maybe not even that long. And so those paths also crossing and just being like, well, I am okay. We are like, there was a lot of aha moments. Yes. And just, that's also what I wanted to say is just witnessing you in your transformation and in the truth of it and just being like, here I am. This is what I have. This
it's really hard.
You made it look effortless. Of course, now in retrospect, now that I'm experiencing it, I realize how fucking hard it is.
Sure. Oh, sure. It takes a village to come back, especially from not only the body stuff, but all of the mental, the emotional. It's so much. I've got a team of good physical therapists. I've got this incredible acupuncturist. I've got a whole line of people who came right before me that can give me advice and can, talk to me about, okay, what's this weird body thing that's happening? Who else has experienced this? And it's really, you don't just do anything by yourself. When you want to do something like come back to, an intense job, like getting in front of an audience and being fully present in that moment. It takes so much behind you to get to that place.
Before baby, the BB times were more about like this outward, like a bringing down of like creating a connection. Whereas like post baby as a performer, it's like you brought this creativity down through your body onto the planet. Now we are here. Okay. We're like this. Like, look, I feel you when you're saying, like, I feel like it's more of a conversation. I agree in that I feel like it's grounded me in this way where there's almost this the rawness I'm bringing to the stage. And in that rawness, that's where the conversation is happening for me. And
Yes.
people are taking whatever, because they take whatever they want from it. But I agree that like, I kind of like the transformation happened in this way that kind of broke me down to the bare bones of who I am. I'm still in it. I feel clunky as hell. I'm like, I'm just gonna roll with it. And the creative process now is less about what can I do here. I'm just like, all right, I'm here. We've been doing this for how long? It's now just, it's like, and I'm trying to maybe make it more like integrated into my just being, because that's how you have to be with the kids. There's no, you can't second guess a lot of times. It's just, you're existing and you're integrating all your lessons, all your blessings, all your curses, all of your everything is what you're bringing to your creative moment with your child. You're creating who they are every moment with them all the time and witnessing it at the same time. It's a lot happening.
It's a lot. Yes, you have to be so simultaneously present, but also three steps ahead
such a
of what's
production.
next. I go to bed. It's such a production. I feel like we're uniquely qualified to have children coming from, you know, theatrical and nightlife backgrounds. You know,
someone might be totally high on mushrooms and fall on their face. It's like,
that's right.
Right.
We know how to be up all night. We know how to be crappy strange times. It's all, we've been uniquely prepared for this situation.
I agree. Did you always want to be a mom?
I think I secretly did. And like there were a number of years where I just sort of didn't acknowledge that. And I'm with a partner that was not thrilled about having children. So it was kind of one of those things that we thought, okay, maybe I can just like put this aside and focus on being an artist, and that will be enough for me. And then, you know, around mid-30s, I was like, no, it's in there. She's in there. I got to get her out. So yeah, for me, there was no question after my mid-30s.
I feel you on that.
Yeah.
So when you did, finally the choice was made and Una was coming, in the beginning stages, or maybe like before it became maybe a physical challenge, how were you kind of channeling your creativity? Did you feel hyper creative? Did you feel like, how were you feeling in like from the lens of creativity?
It was such an interesting time because it was 2020. There was a unique pressure in that, okay, I'm an artist and nobody's working right now, and I'm getting unemployment insurance. This is the only time the government is ever going to pay for me to have a baby, basically, is what they're down to. So I was like, all right, the pressure's on. So this is like the thick of 2020, where artists were in a really strange place. So yeah, as far as my creativity during that time period, I reached out to a lot of photographers and shot some really interesting stuff.
Right?
I was playing a lot of music.
This is the part where I'll edit
so
and be like, here's photos of Ellie. Okay.
Yes. And we'll send the credits for the photographer too. Yes. We'll send that. Otherwise, I played a lot of music, and I tried to work on some acts that didn't require a lot of bending. I had a little scare pretty early on in my pregnancy where I ruptured her hormone supply, basically. It's so crazy. I don't know how much you want to get into it, but I had a miscarriage right before her. Very common. Plenty of people have miscarriages. I had read some research back from the 80s saying no, you got to wait like 3 or 4 months before you try again. And then I read some newer research saying your hormone levels are going to be in the right place to go for it right away. And so I asked the OB, and the answer I got basically amounted to, okay, the reason not to do it the next cycle is because they'll have trouble determining a due date. And I was like, well, that's not really enough for me not to try. Oh, it makes your job easier?
You problem.
Oh, well, okay. So, sounds like a you problem. So yeah, I used the LH strips. I figured out when I was ovulating again and got pregnant again right away. But my hormone levels were kind of out of whack, and it meant that when that little hormone packet travels down and is supposed to implant in the uterus and be essentially the baby's food supply until it understands food, it planted on the ovary instead, and it wasn't in a good spot, and it ruptured while I was training. It happened while I was training. I was going to be in the Macy's parade doing contortion. I was like 8 weeks pregnant, and the OB said it's probably not because you were bending. It's probably just that you were bending and it happened to happen.
Right.
You know, it was enough to get in my head. It was a lot. You know, like it hurt, the pain. I had some internal bleeding. I passed out on the floor. Like my husband was working in the other room. I like crawled in and like pushed the door open. And he looked at me and he was like,
"Oh my God,
you're pretty green." I was like, "Yes, that happened." Yeah. So I was pretty careful after that. I was able to do like straight handstands and things like that, but like bending, I kind of stopped bending.
Yeah, when we were first meeting.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's just a testament, I think, to just what women go through for just to bring life into this world. From the day that we start ovulating, menstruating, I'll put the trigger warning. So if you're not into this, just get out of here now.
Yep. Sorry. Yeah, pregnancy and birth.
I mean, it's gross, but it's the most natural thing. It's how we all got here, and how we will continue to persist as a human race. And it just really bothers me. The last conversation that I had was with a woman who, she calls herself a public anthropologist, where, you know, she's saying the ideals of anthropology, a lot of sciences or theoretical research based practices are colonially based and da 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 da. So she calls herself a public anthropologist because she's really concerned about what's going on around her with the people, the humans in her life and what's going on in her life. And I really resonated with that. I really resonated with that because I just feel like so much of what we go through in our personal lives just to support the continuation, to be a woman and all of the things that come with it, has just been battened down for a really long time. And we see it manifested in so many toxic ways where the systems are trying to perpetuate themselves. Everything from healthcare, for example, how your OB responded, like, "Oh, we won't be able to know the due date." Bitch, do I care what date you know when the baby's coming? No, it's none of your concern. Like, why is that? Why should that? But that's just another way, the control, you know what I mean? And it's like, this is the most natural thing, and there's no way you can control what our bodies are doing. You can try with birth control and whatever they're doing, harvesting our information with the apps, the period apps. And
sure. You know, I gotta tell you, I'm in therapy right now for this very thing. I am so pissed off about how our healthcare system treats pregnant women, and especially postpartum women. And I have so much anger about my birth and my everything. I'm so angry. And work with this brilliant acupuncturist who, like, there's just all this, like, my stomach muscles parts just don't look the same, and like obliques, all these things just don't feel the same. And she's like, you're holding on to a lot of anger from your birth and from your pregnancy. I switched practitioners 4 times because and it's pretty easy to not be happy with
they wanted to induce me when there was no reason except for to just be able to control it.
Don't get me started.
The whole other podcast, child.
I get so angry.
It's like, and that's not to disqualify what you're saying. It's totally relevant to what we're talking about. And I think even just bringing that awareness to how you show up as a performer and how you can show up as a performer, a mother, a human, for yourself, for the people around you who you're trying to nourish and nurture too. It's all connected. And I think that's just something that I feel like it's still in the ether right now that I'm trying to distill about all of this, like talking about motherhood and like continuing your life as a person and a mom, and having those things be inherently and forever intertwined, and never, like, for me, just the idea of having to separate those things in order to be a part of society just feels so wrong. And like, I literally want to bring Sanan everywhere. Like, I will bring him, like, if the babysitter don't show up, we will see him in grad school. We will see him. I brought him to the photo shoot. Like, he was there. Bless his heart, he slept the whole time. Like, the idea that somehow women are handicapped because we have this actual, if you really look at it, superhuman ability to create more humans and do that shit while we're literally, like, you standing on our heads. Like, like, it's a big fuck you, And I'm with you in that anger. I share that anger with you, and let's talk about that. Like, I definitely think that we could do better. And I think part of it has to do with shifting our focus from relying on these systems that are inherently broken because they were built on these rules and ideals of people who are broken, who don't know anything about how we live now and what's important to us now. It's important to like look at one another and start building community and start relying on each other more for just empathy. Even if we don't have solutions, it's like an empathetic ear can do all the more for you than somebody that's trying to impose their shit on something they know, someone or something they know nothing about. I just think that, I mean, that just brings me to my next thing, just about keeping the kids close and like just creating stronger community and networks. And that's, I have my niche, that I'm trying to reach Black performing artists that mother, but that includes other people of color that are having parallel experiences. And it includes allies who are holding space, who are also sharing in some different aspects of the system that's just broken and not really serving us any longer. So ultimately, I'd love to create solutions, but for now, just talking about it feels cathartic where the solutions perhaps will come. Yeah. Maybe not our generation, but maybe our kids will hear us having these conversations and go, oh, I'm going to invent this la 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 or whatever,
Oh, sure. Yes. I think the more we can talk about the nasty side of birth and pregnancy, the more we can talk about things like menopause, the more we can talk about things that put women at a disadvantage. And honestly, like all these white men that never had any children to raise of their own, they put them, in somebody else's care. They don't know anything about their own kids, and they wrote all
their slaves and making these rules. Like, fuck you. Yeah,
we can hopefully rewrite some of these rules from our own perspective just by talking more about the uncomfortable things.
I agree with that. I'm with you, girl. Yeah. So let's take a breath. Let's take a beat. Because it's intense. It's yeah,
intense.
and I think
Motherhood.
it's already hard enough because it is such an individual, like lonely journey because it's really only happening to you. So it's hard to, you know, pair that with like the fact that everyone's depressed or anxious and people are dealing with mental health issues. So I think I think like I'll harken back to what you were saying in the beginning of the conversation. I think in some ways, being a performing artist, we are equipped. I think artists are equipped with special tools for being in this constant state of creation and seeing everything as a opportunity to make a new conversation or spark a conversation that maybe someone else didn't notice was there. Um, and so I want to like, what's the word? Exploit that, that kind of skills, those kind of skill sets that we have. And that'll bring me to my next question. I just think, you know, my phone's about to die. What kind of artist, mother, person now do you envision yourself becoming?
Wow. It's really hard to say in the sense that I have never really felt like I had a goal as an artist. I always felt like I've sort of followed a certain flow. Like whatever feels relevant to me, I make an act about it. And I put that on a stage
Right.
and it goes well or it doesn't. So it's hard to say. Right now, I would say I'm more inclined to
Yes.
do performances that are kid friendly.
And with your friend Musiquita Parati.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, Musiquita, they're so lovely. So they're a great example. And they're doing really wonderful things for the kids. They have all kinds of original music. Plus, they've covered some other tunes in really interesting ways. And they're, you know, including other performers that do visual things like myself and the Jugglin' Dad, my Harris, just for example. And the kids love live music, and it's
I was
well
listening to them, and they have
my dog.
I was listening. I watched their YouTube videos, and I've been listening to them on Spotify. It's beautiful production. They're incredibly talented. We'll plug a link in the once I post this. We'll plug them in. I'm hoping to be able to talk to Blanca a bit, and maybe even her and I think her husband's name is Michael. Jesse. Sorry, Brandon. Hopefully, maybe I can have them talk with the both of them. Great. And so let's see. We're getting towards the end of our time, and I want to be able to ask. Okay, one last question. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Give it to me.
I'm ready, baby. So, if you were to write a how-to guide as a creative mother, artist, human, and you're calling it, quote, the art of blank, blankety blank, 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 whatever you want, what would you call your how-to guide?
Wow. Since having a baby, that's really hard. God, how to get through the
art
day?
Of getting through the day.
Yeah, it will be the art of getting through the day. That's what it is. The art of being present in the moment while being 3 steps ahead,
right there.
Getting through the day. That will be it.
Well, thank you, Ellie. Yep. Thank you so much.